All right, moving on to 5.2. This is scale factors, uniting perimeters and areas. And we talked about yesterday about perimeters, or last section, talking about perimeters being the units being in some type of units to the first, right? So that's being like feet to the first, meters to the first. And generally, we don't put to the first power. We just say it's in feet, in meters, in miles. Maybe it's in kilometers. Maybe it's in light years, right? Light years. Maybe it's in, I don't know, what else do we use? You guys get the picture, right? In area, it's in like, units squared, right? It's in like square feet. It's in cubic inches. Cubic inches cubed, or sorry, inches cubed, inches squared, excuse me. It's in, we'll say, miles, square miles. It's in kilometers squared, right? It's in square light years squared, right? It's whatever. It's in units. The units are squared. All right. So if I am going to be trying to use this my scale factors, right? It's going to be my scale factor, or my perimeter, which is in a linear unit. Perimeter final equals my perimeter initial. It's going to be I'm going to take my scale factor and I'm just going to raise it to the first power. I just multiply it by my scale factor, okay, to the first. Okay. If I'm going to do my area, which is in units squared, my area final is equal to my perimeter, or my area initial, but I'm going to take my scale factor and I'm going to square it. Okay, that's the only difference. Okay, so I'll show you, I'll couple that with what we're doing here today. Okay, so here we have, first, how do we determine our scale factors? Okay, we have our figure A and our figure B. The first thing we do is figure out what are the similar sides. These are similar objects, right? So we have our short end with our similar sides, and our short end of the triangle of our rectangles, and then we have the long end, the lengths of our rectangles. Okay, so you can do little. This is the small one. This is the big. This is the large one. Okay, so we'll do small over large. Okay, so it's going to be 2.5 over 4. Oh, excuse me, that's wrong. 2.5 over 7.5. And then we're going to do, or you can do 4 over 12. Either way, you're going to do this one over this one, or this one over this one. And you can do both. I encourage you to do both to make sure you're not doing any mistakes. So it's going to be 2.5 divided by 7.5. That's going to equal 1/3, or 1/3. Okay, so that's if you do it the one way, the small over the large. If you do the large over the small, it's going to be the inverse of this, which is or 3. Or 3. Okay, so this is the shrink. This is the growth. All right, so if I go from large to small, I shrink it by 1/3. If I go from small to large, I'm growing it by times 3. Okay, so my area here, so remember my area of a rectangle equals my length times my width. So say the area of this equals 7.5 inches times 12 inches. Inches times inches is inches squared, right? So inches squared, unit analysis checks. 7.5 times 12 equals 90 inches. 90 inches squared. I already got that, inches squared. Okay, so if I wanted to reduce this and figure out what this is going to be, one way to do that is by saying, hey, my what is going to be this? Well, I can check easily because it gives me my values. 2.5, my area of this is going to be 2.5 inches square, or inches, times 4 inches. 2 times 5 times 4 is 10 inches squared. Okay, so if what I told you was correct, I should be able to say my area final equals my area initial times my scale factor squared. Okay, so this would equal, say I'm downsizing it, I'm going from here to here. Okay, so 90 inches squared should be my scale factor. I'm going down, so it's going to be 1/3 squared. Okay, 1/3 squared is 1/9. So 90 inches squared times 1/9. So 1/9 of 90 is 10 inches squared. Okay, so check. That works out. All right, so that's pretty neat. Okay, so let's do the next one. Next one here is triangle F is the small triangle. Triangle R is the large triangle. And this has 3 sides because it's a triangle. All right, we have, this is a right triangle, in fact. It has a right angle, so that has a hypotenuse, and 2 legs, right? And 2 legs, right? So it has a first leg, second leg, and the hypotenuse, okay, which is similar in length. All right, so it's going to be, we can have that divided by that, or that divided by that, or that divided by that, right? So all 3 of them are going to be the same ratio, right? So we'll do 6 divided by 12, or 8 divided by 16, or 20, or 10 divided by 20. Each one equals 1/2. Okay, that is the small divided by large, right? Which is going to give me my growth, or sorry, my shrink ratio. Small divided by 12 is going to be my shrink ratio. It's going to be less than 1, okay, which is 1/2. So going from here to here would give me a shrink ratio because it's less than 1/2, or it's less than 1. Okay, so that's my shrink ratio, which is 1/2. Okay, and so my growth ratio is the inverse of that, which is 2. 2 over 1, or 2. Okay, so that should make sense by now. So my growth ratio, my growth scale factor, these are all scale factors, by the way. Scale factor for shrink is my scale factor for growth. And if I'm going to figure out my areas, remember my area of a triangle equals my base times my height divided by 2. Not the hypotenuse, it's my 2 legs. My 2 legs. Base times my height divided by 2. Right, so we'll do the small to big this time. Okay, so 8 times 6 equals 8 times 6. It's unitless right here, divided by 2. Right, so 8 times 6 is 48, divided by 2 is 48, divided by 2 equals 24 units squared. Okay, this is units, equals 48 units squared divided by 2 equals 24 units. Okay, so now I'm going to use my awesome equation. So my area final equals area initial initial times my scale factor squared, which is going to be area final equals 24 units squared times 2 squared, right? Which is going to be area final equals 24 units squared times 4, right? So 24 times 4 equals 96 units squared. So let's see if that's right. Okay, so this is going to be 12 units squared from right here. Sorry, 12 units times 16 units divided by 2 equals 12 times 16 divided by 2 equals 96 units squared, which checks. Okay, works every time. Every time. And I think it's faster. Okay, last one. Last one, we have two trapezoids. Okay. Oh, I haven't done perimeters. That's okay. Perimeters are just as easy. We did perimeters last time. I'll go back and do perimeters, I guess, in a different color. Okay, so perimeters are areas here. We have the areas are, again, we have a small and a large. Right, we'll call that one small, we'll call this one large. And the scale factors, we can pick any of these, right? 3, we'll call this one 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. And these are the same. This is an isosceles trapezoid. Since those are the same, these are isosceles trapezoids. So again, we have a 1 over a 1, or 2 over a 2, or 3 over a 3. These can be sideways or up and down. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so we have a 3 over a 6, or a, hey, it's 1/2 again, over a 10, or a 2.3 over a 4.6. So all of these are 1/2 for a shrink. Okay, or a 2 for a growth. Okay, so the area of a trapezoid. Area of a trapezoid. Okay, it's kind of like the area of a triangle, except one more step. Okay, it's this length, short length, equals the short length plus the long length divided by 2, okay, times the height. All right, so this is the height right here. That's the height. All right, so here it's 3 plus 5 equals 3 plus 5. Oops, that's h. 3 plus 5 divided by 2. It's like the average. It's the average length, if you haven't noticed that out. If you haven't figured that out, it's the average length. 3 plus 5. That's the average length. 3 and 5, there's 2 lengths. 3 plus 5 is 8 divided by 2. That's the average length. That's 4, right? Plus the height, which is 1, 2. There's two blocks. It's 2. Or times 2, excuse me. Times 2. Times 2. Right? So the height, the average is 4. The area is 8 units squared. Okay? So 3 plus 5 is 8 divided by 2 is 4 times 2 is 8 units squared. Okay, so I'm growing this, so my area final equals my area initial. My initial times my scale factor squared, right? So it's going to be 8 times 4 is 16. So I'll do that again. Okay, so my area initial is 8 units squared. Oop, I did it wrong. Times 4 equals 32 units squared. All right, so we'll do it here. I'll show you that this is average is 6 and 4, or sorry, 6 plus 10 is 16, divided by 2 is 8 units squared, times 1, 2, 3, 4, times 4 equals 32 units squared. So there is my areas match. Check. Awesome. All right, so perimeters, just pretty easy, right? Perimeter is 2.5, 2.5 is 5. Whoops, 2.5, 2.5 is 5, plus 4 and 4 is 8. So 5 plus 4, oh, sorry, 5 plus 8, 5 plus 8 equals 13. 13, right? So 13 times my scale factor 3. 13 times 3 equals 13 times 3 equals 39. 39 inches. Okay, so that should be 39 inches. Right, so 7.5 times 2 equals 15. Sorry, so 15 times 24, or plus 24, 15 plus 24 equals 39. Check. And you do the same thing for all three of those. Hope that makes sense.